And in this ET Now on the go Gurugram edition, now we are at a very special place which became a ride-hailing disruptor service, and obviously leading to the cause, mainly solving the purpose of pollution, and that is a BluSmart services. And we do have two gentlemen joining in with us. One is Anirudh Arun joining in with us, who's the co-founder and CEO at BluSmart Fleet, as well as Tushar Garg. Thank you so much, who's co-founder and CEO at BluSmart Chargers. The most important thing today, you all are solving the purpose is sustainability. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining in with us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Pleasure to be here.
You know, the cause today and the need of the hour has become sustainability. But I want to know that, what was the thought process when you all started the company? How did it come? Like, was it like, you know, pollution to hai hi? We knew that is there. But was that one of the main reasons that you all thought about coming out with such a concept?
Absolutely right. So Delhi NCR is, you know, one of the most polluted cities, not just in India, but, you know, globally. And, you know, a lot of Indian cities rank up there when it comes to pollution, you know, globally. So it's a place where we do not want to be. And I think the government is very clear on moving, you know, on the energy transition piece, becoming cleaner in the way we, you know, use our fuels, especially because the rate at which we're consuming energy is going up as India becomes that $10 trillion economy, right? So it's an imperative for us to move towards electric. So it was very clear in 2019 that electric mobility is going to, you know, is going to come to India and it's going to stay. We wanted to be an early mover in that space. Yeah. And when it comes to electric mobility, what I would want to additionally tell you is that the way electric mobility happens is different from the way how a petrol, diesel or a CNG, you know, kind of mobility happens. Because there you still had driver partners who are not earning so high, but they were able to afford these cars, they were able to get these cars and, you know, get them on lease. But no driver partner wants to, even today, own an electric car, right? Because they still do not understand the technological risk. It's still a way more expensive car for them to own.
Much more even for normally too.
So that's why we said that, hey, why don't we create a service where, you know, we take care of the asset, you know, we bring the asset in, and the driver partner becomes a professional driving partner who only is tasked with driving the car. That will help us have a, you know, more premium service as well. It will help us build a better experience, and it will also, you know, protect us from the pollution that's happening.
I know, the air that we are breathing, at least some bit of it is better as well. Once you start the process, right, you got the infrastructure of the cars. But in India, we always spoke about one concern that also came in infrastructure of the charging, right? Like, so how did that come into place? Because it was not easy at that point of time. EV production also now is picking up pace. So how did that charging come into that mechanism of the whole infrastructure there as well?
So see, Vinny, what we did back in 2019 when we started BluSmart was, while from a consumer lens, we were building a ride-hailing service which will be using EVs, so it will be sustainable. We wanted to bring better consumer experience on the driver and the rider side. But at the same time, what we realized was, for the fact that you wanted to run EVs, you cannot rely on for the world to set up the EV charging infra to fuel up your energy needs. So what we did at BluSmart was, from the day one of us starting our services, we started setting up EV charging infra to service our own fleet. That's something that BluSmart's been doing from first day one of its birth. We've done that over the last 5 years of our journey. 5,000 plus EV charging stations is what we have ended up installing to serve our cars, and at the same time taking them public as well. So EV charging infrastructure is something that we have just not fundamentally shied away from, and we believe that's been a very integral way of how this electrification of mobility is something that BluSmart has been able to crack.
Absolutely. But in terms of overall the journey, when you talk about how, you know, one has to go through the process, because how did you, in terms of when you had to get in some investors on board, right? I know this is a very good cause, so no one would have said no in terms of that. But the costing wise, for you to set up all this, it's not cheap, right? Because still we are newer in this space. So then how does that work for you as well? How did that go?
So isko na chicken and the egg problem bolte hain when it comes to charging and, you know, mobility. So because the chicken and the egg problem is typically classified as, you know, people are trying to figure out, will the chargers come first? Basically people come first, set up the chargers, and then it will become much easier for people to bring electric cars. But the charger guys are saying that let the cars come, and only when there are enough cars I will build the chargers, right? अगर अभी दोनों साइड से आप वेट करते रहोगे, then ये कभी मामला आगे नहीं बढ़ेगा. So the idea is that somebody will have to break this, and somebody will have to move forward on both fronts. And that's why at BluSmart what we decided is that it makes perfect sense when you're accelerating a new industry to invest in both sides of the business, which is basically the ride-hailing and the fleet side of the business as well as the charge side of the business. But it also makes great unit economics for us overall, because the cost of running these vehicles on electric fuel is much cheaper as well.
And I think, Vinny, to your question, from an investor interest standpoint, I think the world also appreciated the integrated approach of BluSmart very much, right?
Yeah.
We were neither being looked at as a standalone ride-hailing business nor as a standalone EV charging business. And I think this marriage between the two is something which has been very well appreciated, very well received, and is also the reason why BluSmart as a business has been able to succeed. While we have spoken about the cars and the chargers, there is also a tech stack which kind of encompasses all of this and kind of very optimally manages how the interaction between the cars and the chargers needs to happen. So this integrated approach, building this integrated EV ecosystem is what the investor community very well appreciated, and that's why with their blessings we've been able to grow at the pace that we've been able to.
Absolutely, and I believe you already have 6,000 plus cars, right, that we are talking about. So you are planning to double it by when?
So 1 साल के अंदर हो जाएगा. So right now we operate around 5,000. Yeah. So it took us, I think, nearly, correct me Tushar, maybe around 2 years to add the first 1,000 cars.
Oh yeah, more than that actually.
That first 1,000 is the toughest?
Yeah.
So if you look at one of those our graphs of that journey, which is cars added every quarter, it just literally crawls, right?
Yeah.
And then comes the era which is 2022 and beyond, and over the last 2 years, an amazing amount of momentum has been built, and I would be not surprised if in less than a year or so we double up from where we are.
The need has become more, so I think overall the demand trend is also what you're increasing. But there's one thing that you all factor in also that you all have to do is you all only manage the driver service also, right? Like, so you all have to hire these drivers. How does that system also work? Like, is there a process that you all pick out? Because I don't know, in terms of a comfort of a car, if everyone knows how this process works. So how do you all hire drivers then?
Great question, right? So see, when you're trying to build a premium service, it's also important that the person who's driving you is capable of delivering that premium service.
Yeah.
And when you come from a category where nobody has, ever focused on experience in the past, in 2019 it was a very new challenge.
Yeah.
Because what we were looking to do is we were saying that, hey, we want the driver partner to, always be uniformed, well groomed, step out of the car, welcome the customer, open the door for them, right? Ask them how the AC is, is it at the right temperature for you, and drive always following the rules. Don't, always use the signal lights before changing lanes.
Cutting नहीं चाहिए
था. So ये सब करने में it's a constant process of the right selection of the right people, probably looking, studying their temperament when they're coming in, doing a lot of background checks, etc. But once you also get the driver partners in, it's about, training, retraining, coaching, mentoring. And I think that process is continuously happening. And what the best part is, the community works in such a way, and it's a very tight-knit community, that what effectively happens is that the older driver partners then start teaching the younger driver partners that this is the culture of BluSmart, this is how you need to work. And it becomes easier.
It actually takes you to the 101 of human behavior, right? None of us is driving a BluSmart vehicle is not fearing the consumers who love the brand BluSmart, right? It's our driver partners who are upholding the brand Blue in front of each one of you as the consumers out there. But how you treat your driver partners is what starts to reflect in how they treat your consumers, right? And it's literally, as I said, the basics of how human behavior works. And I think it's been the real key of success of BluSmart, which is how our driver partners uphold the brand BluSmart. They behave and present the experience of BluSmart to the consumers of BluSmart, and how they are upholding how we wish for our brand to be received by the consumers.
They are the brand ambassadors on the road.
They are.
Absolutely, because we'll be knowing only them, not everyone is. I am honored to meet both of you all, but one more thing that I want to understand is, like, were there any specific challenges that we faced when you all started out? What was the toughest challenge for you all? Both in terms of getting the fleet, getting the whole thing, as well as in terms of the charging side.
So I think we talked about the charging infra as one of the biggest bottlenecks, right?
Yeah.
And I think getting the right charging infra, and not any charging infra, even the infrastructure that we're standing in today, this is right next to the Delhi airport, right? This is like premium real estate, very difficult to obtain, and you need to get green power as well. So at that time, a lot of these policies were also, trickling down and getting notified. So for example, the Delhi government had done a push on, getting EV meters, where you're getting power at a much lower cost when you're using it to charge electric vehicles. But this policy was rolled out, but then for it to get notified at the grassroots level and to actually get those EV meters set up in your hub, all of these, required a lot of push from, especially from
That must have taken a lot of effort to actually get that whole process started.
Right? And in the early days, when the ecosystem is not yet aware of, as he very rightly said, notifying policies is one thing, but getting it implemented on the ground is a much bigger beast out there to be solved for. I think on the challenge front, Vinny, one more thing that we always, when we started BluSmart, right, we wanted to be sustainable. We wanted to be do good to the environment in which our vehicles operate and how we run this business. But by virtue of us operating electric vehicles, as one would understand, we were a zero tailpipe emissions company, which means in the city of Delhi NCR and now in Bangalore, we don't pollute, our vehicles don't pollute, right? But we still took energy from the Indian grid, which arguably still is about 60% unclean and 40% clean. What BluSmart has over the years also, and as a challenge that we wanted to very well be the pioneers at, wanted to solve for is procuring 100% of his energy needs as green, right? And just about a month back, we have gotten into a relationship where we have signed a power purchase agreement to procure 100% green energy for operating our vehicles, which means all of our EV charging network takes 100% of this green energy from the large solar power plant that we have signed this PPA with, and they feed that energy into the BluSmart vehicles, meaning every ounce of energy that goes into...
Now it's completely green?
Completely green. Up till the emission, scope 2 level emissions is eliminated at BluSmart now, and that's something that took many years in the making, but that was something which was very close to our hearts, a large challenge that we always wanted to build. With the right policy move and the right intent at the business level is something that it has been able to be achieved now.
Right now we are in the Delhi NCR region side, the companies there, as well as Bangalore.
Yes.
Do we want to move other sides, other geographies? Mumbai कब आ रहे हो? मैं भी सवाल पूछ रही हूँ. वहाँ पे भी pollution बढ़ ही गया है, level पे पहुँच रहा है दिल्ली के पास भी.
So, see, very good question. और बहुत लोग पूछते भी हैं कि मुंबई कब आ रहे हो, पुणे कब आ रहे हो, हैदराबाद कब आ रहे हो, चेन्नई कब आ रहे हो. See, mobility में क्या है ना कि you need to have a particular number of cars. You need to have a critical density of cars and customers in a particular area to make sense of the business. अगर मान लीजिए कि आपके पास यहाँ पे बस 100 cars है और आपके पास 1000 customers हैं. Imagine that 100 cars will have to travel all around Delhi to do your trips, right? I mean, मतलब उनको dry run, मतलब for when they get a ride, it's possible that उनको 10-15 kilometers जाना पड़ रहा है just to reach your location and pick you up. But as you start increasing that 100 to 500 to 1000 to 2000 to 5000 to 10,000, what happens is every driver partner starts getting trips from much closer distances, and every rider also, when you open the app, you start realizing that यार अभी 1 घंटा वेट करने की जरूरत नहीं है. अभी तो आधे घंटे में ट्रिप मिल रहा है, 15 मिनट में ट्रिप मिल रहा है. So your experience also improves, the driver partner's experience also improves, and the asset utilization also improves. Therefore, our unit economics and profitability improves. So it's a win-win-win kind of a thing. So what I'm trying to say is that Delhi NCR and Bangalore there is a scope to add tens of thousands of.
And this doubling you're talking about in this only still is
Delhi NCR still, yes. So I think Vinny, by us being in just 2 cities today, it may sound like we are serving less number of cities, but our philosophy is being we may serve less, but we'll serve well.
Well, yeah.
Right. So the idea is not to disown the consumer trust which has already taken onto BluSmart, and just be very honest to them, because they are the ones who've been able to bring us to where we are. So we keep serving them, better, we keep serving them even better by adding more cars, as Anirudh very rightly pointed out. But mobility trivia for you, the top 5 cities of the country are also about 75 to 80% of the mobility business volume, right? Amongst those top 5, Delhi NCR and Bangalore are amongst the largest 2, right? So probably arguably about 40% of the 80% is just Delhi NCR and Bangalore. So you're already touching base with the very large segment of your mobility consumer base. And as soon as you enter into the remaining 3 cities, and Bombay definitely fares in one of those remaining 3 cities.
I'll sign up on the app.
There is never saying no, and expansion is always on the cards, right? We are always keeping ourselves ready, always preparing for it, and at the right moment we strike it.
And that curve has already come in terms of going faster, so hoping for that. But I want to see the charging stations now, so
Definitely.
let's go
Let's do that.
And cut across to the charging stations. We'll come up close with those charging stations then.
Please, let's do that.
And we are at those charging stations, which I was very interested by because I've not managed to see these up close as well. So yes, I'm seeing 2 kinds of chargers. Firstly, I didn't know there were so many fast chargers that have actually come into place. So what is the process of fast chargers? When did that evolve into for BluSmart? Even the slow charger, fast charger, what's the difference between the timing now that you have, and how much do you save on that as well?
So Vinny, we've been using both combinations of fast and slow chargers from day one of BluSmart going live, right? And fast chargers have existed since 2019, so that definitely helped the cause of us building the business the way we wanted to build it. Factually speaking, what does a fast charger do? By virtue of its name fast, which is also a DC charging, it just ends up charging a car much faster. Less than about an hour is what it takes to fully charge a car and throw it back on the road. A slow charger, the one that you see on that side behind you, is one that would take about on an average 5+ hours to fully charge a car. So that's the virtue of it being a slow and this being a fast charger. The way BluSmart operates its charging operations, I would say about 60-65% of our charging needs are fulfilled by a fast charger, and the remaining about 35-40% of the charging requirements of our cars are taken care by a slow charger. That's also a way how we manage our cars better and their battery lives much better, which is by balancing the cells in the cars, which is an act which a slow charger does much better than a fast charger. So fast charger also, if you may, call it as an opportunity charging that we do. So in the middle of the day, when the car needs a juice up, is what it comes into the hub, gets a fast charging cycle done for itself in about a couple of minutes, half an hour, 40 minutes, gets the juice it needs, and it's going back on the road. Slow charging is an activity that majority of our cars that are not operating in the night, they kind of tend to go through. That's also a place, as I said, is when the cars kind of
you have enough
they
time
just
to
sit
put
back, they just get slow charged, their batteries get
that's what
their batteries get balanced, which is also a very important job in the scheme of things, where battery management needs to be done very well by a fleet of this nature.
Yeah, but then battery management, so you were saying that slow charger, obviously in terms of the management, you require a slow and fast combination as well. Just in general in the industry, now today at home, we have, I believe,
the slow chargers.
Slow chargers. So is that something that is more sustainable in the long run for a car or an EV car, or the mix is the right balance? How does that work?
Think of it this way, Vinny, that only fast charging might not be the best thing to do for the vehicle's integrity, but only doing slow charging might just be an okay thing to do. Think of it as a ride-hailing business the way BluSmart is. We cannot be spending that many hours every day, multiple times in the day, to be just charging the vehicles, because the vehicles are supposed to be serving you as consumers, right? Which is where the fast chargers kind of step in for us. They're able to turn around the car much quickly than as compared to a slow charger, and that's what a fast charger does to our business in the ride-hailing side.
In terms of then costing-wise, when you compare, obviously because it must be more, like to develop the fast charger, it requires more of it. So everything right now that we do, is it like these chargers are imported? Is there something in India that the process has started as an industry-wise, is what I'm trying to get understanding in terms of these processes?
So there are multiple OEMs, there are multiple equipment manufacturers for chargers as well. Just like you have, these Tata cars that we are running, and we have various other, OEMs where we get cars from. Similarly, we get a lot of charging OEMs as well. Okay. And some of them are Indian, some of them are foreign, some of them have localized their technology already. But made in India chargers are like becoming the majority right now.
And some of them are doing a very fine job as the hardware that they produce, right? Which is helping the cause of the sector and a company like us.
And in terms of just the costing, in terms of maintenance of the car, like EV is much less maintenance, and in terms of maintenance of the charging station, is there something particular that requires, I'm just trying to understand the system as a layman language, like what is it that requires for all this then?
Yeah, see, from a car's perspective, there are no so many belts and oils that you change as much as in, you don't have so many engines, you don't have so many moving parts in these cars, right? This is just a motor, it's just a motor, and that motor is good for like multiple, maybe 7-8 years. And then you have a battery pack, and the battery pack also depends on how well you manage it. So it depends on how many times you fast charge it, how you slow charge it, what rate you charge it at, are you able to service it regularly, so on and so forth. But also that service probably happens once in 15-20,000 kilometers, right? So, and the cost of these services are much lower than what you typically have for the regular petrol, diesel, CNG vehicles. And for chargers, I would imagine that there's hardly anything that requires service except maybe just the gun that you put into the car. Just because you have wear and tear when you keep putting something in and you remove it, you put it in. So it's just the regular wear and tear part that also, multiple thousand times when you do it, you may just have to change it's just like the plug point when you have a gun, right? So any plug point that you have at home. So when you keep putting it out, putting it out, then you have to change the plug at some point. So that sort of thing. So it's maintenance-wise, EVs are pretty sorted. The cost of maintenance is very low, both from the charging side as well as from the fleet side.
And there is an added advantage that BluSmart's business model brings to the table, right? By virtue of us being a managed service network, the cars, the chargers, all of this is very much under one single umbrella that helps to manage all of these assets much better, right? We are able to plan the rostering of the preventive maintenance cycles for the chargers and for the cars, which are both very large and huge expensive assets on our portfolio, is being done very well, which allows for the life or the longer life of the same assets, right? I would be damned if someone is not just doing a good job at it, and an EV, while it will be an EV, will start to show up as a bad asset on the roads, and it may start to taint the sector as well. But I think BluSmart's been very lucky to build the business model the way they have built it, and that also starts to shape up into the economics of running the business and how our maintenance cost, as Anirudh rightly put, has been very low from day one, which helps the cost of the economics of the business.
Just the last googly now I'm going to throw at you all. I want one top headline that you all would give for BluSmart 5 years, 7 years from the line. What would the top headline be that we would see in a news channel, a newspaper? Now you are the anchor. You all are going to take it away and give me one nice top headline that you all would give.
You want to give it a shot first?
Yeah, so I think BluSmart completely decarbonizes ride-hailing as a sector in India. So I think that's a big headline. I think all mega cities are going to have this problem, and I think right now we are focusing on Delhi, NCR and in Bangalore, but globally all mega cities are having the same problems of pollution, congestion, and I think BluSmart should be that silver bullet that solves. So BluSmart as a silver bullet to all of pollution.
That's my headline there.
I think you've got your headline. I think for me it's also about how thinking globally but acting locally, getting personified is what BluSmart is.
Thinking globally, acting locally. I love that. I love these two headlines. On that very nice headline note, thank you so much, Tushar, as well as Anirudh, for joining in with us.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure being here, a pleasure seeing everything up close. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thanks, Vinny. Thank you.